Okay, so today the presentation, the title of the presentation is Cybersecurity at the Executive Level. La présentation d'aujourd'hui est la cybersécurité au niveau de l'exécutif. I am Mireille Dastou. I am the host of this session, and the presenter today is Michael Smith. Michael, can you slip the slide? Perfect. So Michael has over 25 years of IT governance and management consulting experience, working within the sectors of government, education, health services, law enforcement, oil and gas, finance, public enterprise, and non-for-profit. He has customized and implemented at the enterprise and operational level IT governance framework, cybersecurity frameworks, IT investment and financial frameworks. Michael enjoys giving back to the IT community and has served on the boards of the following national and global professional association and learning organization. So he was the president of ISACA, vice president of programs at the Project Management Institute, and the director of programs at the Canadian Association of Management Consultant. A big thank you, Michael, for being with us today. I am myself Mireille Dastou. I'm a training specialist at the Digital Research Alliance of Canada. So I represent all the training related to operation and security at the Alliance, related to advanced research computing, cybersecurity, research data management, and research software. So I'm happy to gain more knowledge related to computational research and education, and also, of course, continuous improvement. Today, I will start with a few words to acknowledge First Nation, Métis, Inuit in Canada. So we acknowledge that what we call Alberta is the traditional and ancestral territory of many peoples, presently subject to Treaties 6, 7, and 8, namely the Blackfoot Confederacy, yeah, Guéna, Piikani, and Siksika, the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Nakota, Sioux, Stoney, Nakota, and the Tsuut'ina Nation and the Métis people of Alberta. This includes the Métis settlement in the 6th region of the Métis Nation of Alberta within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit that have lived in and care for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today, and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on or are visiting. Nous reconnaissons que ce que nous appelons l'Alberta est le territoire traditionnel et ancestral de nombreux peuples actuellement soumis aux traités 6, 7 et 8, à savoir la Confédération des Pieds Noirs, Guénaï, Piikani, Siksika, les Cris, les Dene, les Saulteaux, les Sioux Nakota, les Stoney Nakota, la Nation Tsuut'ina et le peuple métis de l'Alberta. Cela comprend les établissements métis, les 6 régions de la nation métisse de l'Alberta, au sein de la patrie historique des Métis du Nord-Ouest. Nous reconnaissons les nombreuses Premières Nations, les Métis et les Inuits qui vivent sur cette terre et en prennent soin depuis des générations. Nous sommes reconnaissants aux gardiens du savoir traditionnel et aux aînés qui sont encore parmi nous aujourd'hui et à ceux qui nous ont précédés. Cette reconnaissance des Premières Nations, peuples Inuits et Métis, est pour nous un acte de réconciliation et de gratitude envers ceux dont nous habitons le territoire ou que nous visitons. So I also want to share with you some training resources that are available online. You can have access on online training for researcher. There are 3 online sessions available right now on the IZ catalog. So please take a look at our newsletter and emails to have all the information. I just wanted to remind you that those resources are available and useful for the research community. Okay, so now I think we are ready to give the floors to Michael. Je vais maintenant donner la parole à Michael pour sa présentation.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Good morning in the West and afternoon in the East. I am glad to have this opportunity to talk to a broader audience on cybersecurity at the executive summary level. My agenda today will take around 30 minutes with some time after for questions. I'll first delve into the coordination of a general framework, its importance for an organization, then introduce the National Institute of Standards and Technology, acronym NIST, cybersecurity framework. Next, I will summarize the key aspects of the NIST framework, assessment processes, and how to integrate into an organizational culture with a continuous improvement cycle. Then a quick overview of the draft release of NIST version 2, and ending with, time willing, that I don't talk too much, a Q&A session, and I don't bore you too much as well. Thank you very much again. So, cybersecurity is a practice protecting systems, networks, programs from digital attacks. These cyber attacks are usually aimed at assessing, changing, or destroying sensitive information, exporting money from users via ransomware, or interrupting normal business processes. Implementing effective cyber security measures is particularly challenging today because there are more devices than people, and attackers are becoming much more innovative. As part of processes, practices, and documentation, the cybersecurity framework should be embedded into everyday workflows and how the teams are functioning. Based on principles of continuous improvement, should also be part of an employee onboarding and continuous in training, integrated into operational practices and corporate communication. A successful cybersecurity approach has multiple layers of protection spread across the computers, networks, and programs, or data that an organization intends to keep safe. In an organization, the people, process, and technology must all complement one another to create an effective defense from cyber attacks. First, people. Users must understand and comply with basic data security principles. That's like choosing strong passwords, being wary of attachments in email, and backing up your data. It is important to regularly train and retrain all our users to be sure that they're aware of enterprise cybersecurity policies and procedures, and that their specific roles and responsibilities as a condition of employment. Then processes. Organizations must have a framework for how they deal with both attempted and successful cyber attacks. One well-respected framework can guide your organization and help to explain how your organization can identify attacks, protect systems, detect and respond to threats, and recover from successful attacks. And then technology. Technology is essential to giving organizations and individuals the computer security needed to protect themselves from cyber attack. Three main entities must be protected. That is endpoint devices like computers, smart devices, and routers, networks, and of course the cloud. Common technology used to protect these entities include next generation firewalls, DNS filtering, malware protection, antivirus software, and email security solutions. Now, I first want to look at how a coordination of a framework is implemented. So the coordination of a framework utilizing the cybersecurity context has a common flow of information decisions at the following levels within an organization, that being the executive, the business process, and the implementation operations level. The executive level communicates its mission priorities, available resources, and overall risk tolerance to the business process level. The business process level uses this information as inputs into the risk management processes, and then collaborates with the implementation operations level to communicate business needs and create a profile. The implementation operations level communicates the profile implementation progress to the business process level. The business process level uses this information to perform an impact assessment. Business process level management reports the outcomes of that impact assessment to the executive level to inform the organization's overall risk management processes, and to the implementation operations level for awareness of business impact. Now, how and why we use a framework. So an organization uses a framework as a key part of its systematic process for identifying, assessing, and managing cybersecurity risk. A framework is not designed to replace, this is very important, existing processes, but to integrate current processes and overlay them onto the framework. This is to determine gaps in its current cybersecurity risk approach and develop a roadmap towards improvement or a target state. So a framework provides a common taxonomy, a structure that can be used to 1, understand and assess, 2, prioritize, and 3, to communicate about cybersecurity risks. In the understand and assessment piece, this describes an organization's current or target cybersecurity posture within and across organizations, sectors, or business units. It determines where the organization may have cybersecurity gaps with respect to existing or emerging threats and technologies, and assesses progress towards addressing these gaps. It also aligns policy, business, and technology approaches to manage cybersecurity risks across an entire organization or in a more focused area, such as a portion of the organization, a specific technology, or technology suppliers. In the prioritization piece, an organization must prioritize opportunities to improve cybersecurity risk management, identify, organize, and prioritize actions for reducing cybersecurity risks that are aligned within the organizational mission, legal and regulatory requirements, and risk management and governance expectations. And of course, informed decisions about cybersecurity related workforce needs and capabilities. And communicate. An organization must provide a common language, this is critical, for communicating with internal and external parties about cybersecurity risks, capabilities, needs, and expectations. It must be understood. Then complement an organization's risk management process by presenting a concise way for executives and others to distill the fundamental concepts of cybersecurity risk so that they express at a high level risk to be managed and how their organization uses cybersecurity standards, guidelines, and practices. Now, a framework, again, is not one size fits all approach. It can't be this way. To manage cybersecurity risk for critical infrastructure, an organization will continue to have unique risks, different threats, different vulnerabilities, different risk tolerances. Organizations can determine activities that are important to critical service delivery and can prioritize investments to maximize the impact of each dollar spent. Ultimately, the framework is aimed at reducing and better managing cybersecurity risks. Now, a framework is not meant to complement. It's meant to complement, not replace, an organizational risk management processes and cybersecurity program. The organization can use its current processes and leverage the framework to identify opportunities to strengthen and communicate its management of cybersecurity risk while aligning with industry best practices. Alternatively, an organization without an existing cybersecurity program can use the framework as a reference to establish one. One note, and this is kind of critical, it is important that a framework needs to be a living document, not only for the creators, the authors and architects, but the implementers, our organization as well, and will continue to be updated and continuously improved because industry provides feedback on implementation at a continuous rate. Now, in the coordination of framework, we're using NIST as our context. So NIST is a risk-based approach to managing cybersecurity risk composed of 3 parts. That's the framework core, the implementation tiers, and the framework profiles. The framework core is a set of activities, desired outcomes, and applicable references that are common across critical infrastructure sectors. The framework core consists of 5 concurrent and continuous functions. That's identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. We will go into these in a little bit more depth in the next slide. The framework implementation tiers describe the degree to which the organization's cybersecurity risk management practice exhibit the characteristics defined within the framework. The tiers characterize organizational practices over a range, and that's from partial, that's tier 1, to adaptive, tier 4. These tiers are meant to reflect the progression from informal, reactive responses and approaches that are agile and risk-informed. Now, a framework profile, this represents the outcome based on business needs that an organization has selected from their framework categories and subcategories. The profile can be characterized as the alignment of standards, guidelines, and practices to the framework core, in particularly implementation scenarios. Profiles can be used to identify opportunities for improving cybersecurity posture by comparing a current profile, the as-is state, with a target profile, that is the to-be state. To develop a profile, an organization can review all the categories and subcategories, and based on business mission drivers and risk assessments, determine which is most important, and it can add categories and subcategories as needed to address further organizational risks. The current profile can then be used to support prioritization, measurement of progress towards the target profile, while factoring in the other business needs, including cost effectiveness and innovation. Profiles can be used to conduct self-assessments. Now, in the following slides, I will discuss some high-level structure of the NIST CSF, which is Cybersecurity Framework. So if I make reference to that acronym, you'll know it is, and how to use it within an organization, ours, yours, in a bit more detail. Now, the framework core, as we talked about the pieces before, is a set of cybersecurity activities, outcomes, and informative references that are common across sectors and critical research infrastructure. The core represents industry standards, guidelines, and practices in a manner that to the implementation operation level. The first one to examine is identify. So identifying critical enterprise process and assets. The next piece of that is documenting information flows, then maintaining hardware and software inventory. I'm not going to get into lots of details because I think this is pretty self-explanatory. And if you find you want more information, we can go at the end of this. So establishing policies for cybersecurity that includes roles and responsibilities, identifying threats, vulnerabilities, and risk to assess. So this is to ensure risk management processes are established and managed, to ensure internal and external threats are identified, assessed, documented in risk registers. Ensure risk responses are identified, prioritized, executed, and results monitored. Protect. Now, the protect function is managing access to assets and information, protecting sensitive data, conducting regular backups, protecting your devices, managing device vulnerabilities, and that's updating both operating system applications that are installed on computers and other devices to protect them from attack. And the critical piece is always training users. So as I say, a critical activity that can be overlooked or underappreciated by many organizations. Regularly training and retraining all users to be sure that they are aware of enterprise cybersecurity policies and procedures and their specific roles and responsibilities as a condition of employment. Now, detect. Now, this function is broken down into testing and updating detection processes. Now, that's develop test procedures for detecting unauthorized entities, actions on the network, and in a physical environment, including personal activity. Staff should be aware of their roles and responsibilities, again, for detection and related reporting, both within the organization and to external governance and legal authorities. The next piece is maintaining and monitoring logs. Logs are critical in order to identify anomalies in your enterprise computer and applications. Consider using software tools that can aggregate these logs and look for patterns or anomalies from expected network behavior. Know the extended data flows for your organization and your enterprise. If you know what and how data is expected to be used, you are much more likely to notice when unexpected things happen. It's never a good thing when it comes to cybersecurity. Understand the impact of cybersecurity events. If an event is detected, your organization or enterprise should work quickly and thoroughly to understand the breadth and depth of the impact. Seek help. Communicate information on that event with appropriate stakeholders. They will help in a good stead in terms of partners, oversight bodies, and other, potentially including our investors, and improve policies and procedures. Respond. Now, this function has 3 pieces. So ensure response plans are tested. Now, it is more important to test response plans to make sure each person knows their responsibility in executing a plan. The better prepared we are, the more effective the response is likely to be. 2, ensure responses are planned and updated. Testing the plan and execution during an incident inevitably will reveal needs improvements. Be sure, we should be sure to update response plans with lessons learned. 3rd, coordinate with internal and external stakeholders. It is important to make sure that our enterprise, response plans and updates include all stakeholders. We're not keeping this quiet. And external service providers. They can contribute to improvements in planning and execution. Recover. Communication with our external stakeholders, part of the recovery part, depends on effective communication. The recovery plan needs to carefully account for what, how, and when information will be shared with various stakeholders so that all interested parties receive the information they need, but no inappropriate information is shared. Ensure recovery plans are updated. As with response plans, testing execution will improve employee and partner awareness and highlight areas for improvement. We need to be sure to update recovery plans with lessons learned. And managing public relations and company reputation is something we should always be thinking in the forefront. One of the key aspects of recovery is managing the enterprise's reputation. When developing a recovery plan, consider how you will manage public relations so that when your information sharing is accurate, complete, and timely, it is not reactionary. Now, this is the tiers piece. So this is trying to understand what your current state is and where you want to be. So frameworks tiers are scaled ranking benchmark system. This is from tier 1 to 4, as noted in this what you're seeing in front of you. This describes an increasing degree of rigor and sophistication in cybersecurity risk management practices. This helps determine the extent of which cybersecurity risk management is informed by business needs and is integrated into the organizational overall risk management practice. It provides context for stakeholders around the degree to which an organization's cybersecurity program exhibits the characteristics of the NIST CSF cybersecurity framework. Now, there are 4 implementation tiers broken down into 3 main categories. As you notice at the top, there's risk management processes, a risk management program, and external participation. The tiers are 1, partial, which really means no cybersecurity coordination and cybersecurity practices are adequate for risk experienced. The next is risk informed. Now, this is an informal sharing and coordination, meaning that the organization is aware of some risk and is planning how to respond to them. Now the planning to respond is happening. The next piece is repeatable. Now we're regularly formalized coordination. The organization has clearly defined and regularly repeated cybersecurity processes. This is where most organizations should be, and then strive to be adaptive. So active risk management, information sharing, an organization is proactively investigating cybersecurity measures. It is a strange fact that most organizations are around a 2 or growing into a 2. The framework profile. So this pretty picture is really stating, like we try to identify our current state based on the tiers. And then our target state is where we would like to be. Now, where we like to be may only be a 2 based on what our organization is like, what our structure is like, or what we just are capable of doing. So according to NIST, a framework profile enables organizations to establish a roadmap for reducing cybersecurity risk. Profiles can be used to describe your organization's as-is state, current profile, or your desired to-be state, as we talked before, target profile. And this is of a cybersecurity level specific. The as-is state or current profile indicates the cybersecurity outcomes currently being achieved. In contrast, the to-be state or target profile shows the results needed to achieve the desired cybersecurity risk management goals. Now, as we've done in the past within our organization, the Alliance, a facilitated self-assessment is used to start this process. Now, this is a less formal engagement that is facilitated by a team within our organizations or yours to record element judgments based on participant consensus. Self-assessments provide a method to determine the current status of an organization's information security program, identifies in its cybersecurity posture, gaps, and where necessary, establishes a target for improvement. Now, how to use the NIST cybersecurity framework? The whole goal is not to make this too complicated or onerous. We have to be able to adapt it into our organization and utilize it. So using the framework as a cybersecurity risk management tool, an organization can determine critical service delivery activities, prioritize expenses to maximize the impact of the investment. The following sections present different ways an organization can use the framework as stated in the framework document, the overall piece. So I look at number 1, and so it's a basic review of your cybersecurity practices. Now, the picture on the right-hand side, if you're looking from your computer, shows the internal. It looks sort of like a triangle-ish thing. That's an assessed current state, and the red that's outside of it, circling it, is proposed target state. So the framework can help the organization answer key questions such as where they are going, identification of a target state processes and practices. Then they can move into a more informed way to strengthen their cybersecurity practices when and where deemed necessary. And that's towards that defined desired target state. Establishing or improving a cybersecurity program is the next piece. The framework is not intended to be used as a standalone. We reflected that in the beginning. It can serve as a foundation for developing a company-wide cybersecurity program. Good security programs are usually built from multiple sources or viewpoints, and the NIST framework provides many excellent tools to do just that. Third piece is communicating cybersecurity requirements with the stakeholders. The framework provides a common language to communicate requirements among independent interdependent, stakeholders responsible for delivering essential critical infrastructure products and services. An organization can use the framework to communicate its cybersecurity current and desired state through a current profile and a target profile. And this is to essential stakeholders. Now, the buying decision. A framework can be used to inform decisions about buying products and services. Once a product or service is purchased, the profile can be used to track and address residual cybersecurity risk. And fifth, I always look at risk as opportunities, not as a negative thing. So identifying opportunities for new or revised informative references. The framework can be used to identify opportunities for new and revised standards, guidelines, or practices where additional information references would help organizations address emerging needs. Now, as we're always looking for continuous service improvement, so is NIST. So as we need to maintain this improvement within our organization's cybersecurity processes, NIST also reflects on adapting to the ever-changing security landscape with this newly released, it was, well, August 2023, a public draft. This NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 is released currently out for public comment with a deadline for November 4th, which is coming up pretty soon this year. Now, the updates and improvements considered in this draft are first, and these things are, I find very important as we move forward with the many devices and the aspects and the internal pieces of all our servers, to emphasize cybersecurity governance. So new function governance added to the organizational context, risk management strategies, cybersecurity supply chain risk management, roles, responsibilities, and authorities, policies, processes, procedures, and oversight. New guidance is offered in this new version on integrating the framework within the NIST privacy framework and within enterprise risk management as discussed. Focus on people now, process and technology is expanded throughout the implementation of the framework. Now, to emphasize, cybersecurity supply chain risk management is now something that we need to look at. It's now a new critical aspect of what we do. So new category in govern, focused on cybersecurity supply chain management with the context updated to reflect the latest NIST guidance, framework practices related to cybersecurity supply chain risk management and secure software development. Now, just looking at my time, the other important updates are the recognition of a broader use of the framework. So the title has now been changed from a commonly used name of cybersecurity framework to, cybersecurity framework from the original framework for improving critical infrastructure cybersecurity. Scope of the framework has now been updated to reflect use by all organizations. The original emphasis on critical infrastructure applications in the narratives and core has been modified to focus on all organizations. So original emphasis on securing US, that's United States, critical infrastructure has been modified to focus on organizations all around the world to reflect the broader and international use of the framework. Now, the CSF is now related to other frameworks and resources. Reviewed updates to resources published in recent years to identify changes in narrative and core have included new references to the NIST privacy framework, the workforce framework for cybersecurity, secure software development framework, cybersecurity supply chain risk management practices for systems and organizations, and performance measurement guide for information security, integrating cybersecurity and enterprise risk management series. And it's a big list. The artificial intelligence risk management framework. These things we have to think about. While not included in this draft, in the future NIST will be released as an online tool for NIST cybersecurity website to host the Cybersecurity 2.0 core. Now, this will happen with human and machine readable formats. The new tool will allow organizations to see the relationships online between the core and unadaptable informative references. Increased guidance on the implementation. Now, this has been something that has been required and needed for a while. So implementation examples added to provide notational examples and action-oriented process to achieve the subcategories. Framework profiles guidance revised significantly to expand to provide steps using the profile to illustrate several purposes and notational templates. So the final piece is clarifying the understanding of cybersecurity measurement and assessment. So with new pointers, tiers clarified to focus on cybersecurity governance now, risk management, and third-party considerations. Importance on continuing improvement in emphasizing through new improvement category in the identity function, as well as improvements in guidance on developing and updating profiles and action plans. So I just thought I'd put a slide in for resources. We have two different emails at the Alliance. We have our Google and we have our enterprise. And their Alliance support. So I've also put in here publications for ISAC and COBIT. It's a free thing that you can download, but they want you to go through their store. It's, I think, to reflect and make reference to what's coming through. NIST release 1.1 is there, plus all the cybersecurity framework resources that apply to it. And the new NIST public draft release, I have a link to that, plus the decision draft for implementation of examples. Just to sort of end this off, this is a nice little thing that ISAC put together about digital trust and how it's critical to your enterprise. So link below, I believe these slides will be available for all to see. So breaking down this definition, integrity refers to code of moral value, not traditional security definition. Ethics, transparency, accountability play a significant role, and encompassing of brand, product quality, data ethics, and reliability. So I'll take this back to Mireille.
Well, first, thank you, Michael, for this presentation. I want to tell you what's next from my side. So please, to receive all the information for the 3 next sessions related to Cybersecurity Awareness Month, you can receive the communication through the CCDB account. So you just have to accept the communication if it's not done yet. You can also subscribe to the Alliance newsletter. It's on our website and the link is there. I can put it in the chat also. And we have 3 more presentations on October 30. So we'll have in French and in English, MFA for researcher, and also a policy town hall animated by Scott Baker. So please join us for the next activities happening next week. Encore un gros merci à Michael Smith pour la présentation. Thank you everyone for joining us. The training is recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel, the Alliance YouTube channel, and we will share the information also through the communication channel. Alors voilà, je vois quelqu'un aussi qui remercie dans le chat. Je ne sais pas s'il y a des commentaires ou des questions. Do you have question or comments related to the training today? Please tell us in the chat, or might have a few minutes for a few questions.
I hope I was comprehensive enough, but you can also send me email directly and I will try to answer as soon as possible any requests.
Yeah. There's someone asking, are there companies that do cybersecurity risk assessments? Probably, yeah.
Absolutely. There are many. If you want details on who and what, I can send you that information.
There's someone asking, what is the difference between NIST and SOC2?
That's a good question. I don't know if we have enough time for me to break that down to pieces. We utilize NIST for the main reason that it provides a guideline, not just how could I put this? Aspects to reflect on. It's sort of a template to not only look at cybersecurity risk, but perform the assessments as well as it complements COVID 2019. But for more detail, I can definitely get that to you.
I will add your email in the chat as well. If someone wants to reach, to send an email to Michael directly to have more information and documents and everything. So there's some more questions.
I'm glad to help as well as I can.
Yeah, it's like when you start working with those frameworks, you can work with that for like months and still be learning a lot. So very interesting. Thank you very much for this presentation, Michael.
Thank you.
I think then it's gonna be the end of our session. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and I hope you can join for our next activities.